Hey guys, it's Malia. Thanks for joining me. Today we're talking about accidentals, sharps and flats, and what's going to be your favorite enharmonic equivalents, the homophone in music. So now you know where all of the treble clef pitches lie within the keyboard and on the staff here. But you might be wondering, okay, Malia, we have touched on all of the white keys. What about these, the black keys? Okay, we have symbols called accidentals. And accidentals, I almost said occidental because I used to teach at Occidental College. Accidentals are symbols that modify the notes here. So there are three kinds of, actually there are more than three, but right now we're going to talk about three kinds of accidentals. Sharps, which look like that. Flats, which look like this, kind of a squished B, lowercase. And the last one is a natural sign, and it looks like this. A sharp will raise a pitch by a half step. So if I put a sharp, let's say next to, let's just do it next to this one right here. Okay, that's a sharp, and accidentals always go to the left of the notes. This is now not a D. Now this is a D sharp. And when you're labeling with a letter, then the sharp goes to the right. So this is the proper notation. And if it raises a half step, that means this D, first of all, is a D5. That would be here, okay? And D sharp then is here. It's this black key right here. So if I saw that D sharp, I would not play the D. I would not play that. I'd bypass that, and instead I play a D sharp. It's a totally different pitch from D. It's D sharp. Okay? So let's do another one. How about if I add a sharp to an F? So turning this F5 into an F sharp 5, and this is how I would write the sharp to the left of the note. You never want your accidentals to be like floating in the air. If I put a sharp like that, that really doesn't mean anything. It needs to be connected to the G, or it needs to be connected to the left side of the E, but this is kind of floating in nowhere, no man's land. Okay, so getting back to this F sharp, this is now F sharp 5. Here's F4, so go to F5, and F sharp is here. Okay, let's do another one. How about if I add a sharp to G4? So first find the 4s. Here's the 4 octave, and then I go to G. So this black key in the middle here is G sharp 4, and I would change that notation right there. So just a word of caution. A sharp sign and eventually a flat sign does not automatically assume that that's going to land on a black key. So for example, if I put a sharp next to this E right here, then I've turned this into E sharp, and this is specifically E4. Okay, here's E4. E sharp is right here. It's a half step up. The sharp always raises the note one half step, so it means to go to the very next adjacent pitch, whether it be a white key or a black key. That's really important. Okay, so this is what bothers a lot of students when they're first learning about music notation and notes. So when you have two pitches here that sound exactly the same, because if I go to the keyboard and I play that key, they both sound exactly the same, right? E sharp, press it again, it's F. But they are spelled differently. These are called enharmonic equivalents. Enharmonic equivalents bother a lot of people at the very beginning because they seem redundant, right? They seem like, why do we have multiple ways to say the same thing, to spell the same thing? What's the point in that? And it really comes down to musical context. It starts to make sense a little bit later down, a little bit later down the road as you learn more music theory. But I will bring in this one example. So to compare with the English language, there. These words sound exactly the same, right? But they're spelled differently. Why do we have 3 different versions of the word that sounds exactly the same? It's because of context. You're going to be using these in different contexts, right? They have a different function, a different meaning, depending on what's happening, right? Where they're placed in a sentence. So now let's talk about flats. Flats just work in the opposite as sharps. So flats will lower a pitch by a half step. And on the keyboard, it's very easy to visualize because it means that you lower the pitch 1 key adjacent to the left. Okay, so if you remember, sharps are raising, going up, flats are lowering. Think of a flat tire going down. Flats will lower the pitch. So let's apply a flat symbol, a flat accidental, to some of these notes so you can see how that works. So I'll apply it to this one here. So now this is E flat 5, okay? So here's my range of 5s, here's E. So when you see this note, it means to play that key, okay? That's a black key. And you could probably suspect, just like sharps, flats do not automatically mean that you're going to be playing a black key. Most of the time it does mean that. It does. But there are cases where it's not. So a C flat is one of those cases. So this is a C flat 5. So here's my C5. So where do you think the C flat is? Yeah, it's right here. Don't let that bother you. I know it's also B, but that's just how it works depending on the musical context. Let's do a couple more. So how about on this A4, let's turn that into an A flat 4. So now I'm in the 4 range. Here's A. So if I saw this on the staff in the treble clef, I would play that key, A flat. Okay? And let's do this one. So now I have an F, squeezing that in there. That's an F flat 4. So here's F4 and here's F flat. Okay, so now you might be thinking, okay, so actually some of these keys here can easily have 2 names. So bring this down a little bit. This key could be called a C sharp, but it also could be called a D flat. This key could be called a D sharp, but it also could be called an E flat. What about this one? This could be called an F sharp, or it could be called a G flat. Okay, let's do a little bit of practice. I have a bunch of pitches written on the treble clef staff, and we're going to identify them. And if you notice here on the keyboard, I haven't written in every single letter. I only wrote down the C's. So I strongly suggest, in the way that you practice, don't write in every single letter on the keyboard because it starts to become a crutch. But I do suggest writing in the C's, and every once in a while write in a letter if you really, really need it. Maybe the F's because they are at the beginning of the 3 black keys. But start to wean yourself off of writing in every single letter. My other bit of advice, we are just drilling here. We're drilling where these pitches lie on the staff. Use apps to help drill. Keep that on your phone, and when you're standing in line somewhere and you've got 3 minutes, practice. Do that as much as possible. My other really strong piece of advice is to play these pitches at the keyboard, whether you're at an acoustic piano or a digital keyboard, or even just if you have a keyboard app on a tablet or even on your phone. You need to start associating the sound with where these pitches lie. And later on, when you are developing your ear and you want to have a strong ear, you want to be able to play by ear as well as you want to be able to read music, you want to start this kind of training early. You want to start associating the sounds with what you see on the page. Hear what you write and write what you hear. That will help you become a really strong musician. Okay, so I want you to try to yell out the letter names, and if you can, try to yell out the the number octave designation for each of these. That's a little bit harder, I know, but do your best. If anything, just yell out the letter, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly where these lie on the keyboard so you have a visual. Okay, so you all know that one. That's C4. This is E4. It's a skip up. Okay, and make that connection on the keyboard. We go from here and we skip the D to E. And that's exactly what it looks like on the staff. Line, skip to the next line. So from this E4, is this ascending or descending? This is descending one step. So from E, I go down a step, but there's a sharp next to it. So it's actually this key. So this is a D sharp 4. It's this one, okay? And just for pitch reference, what does this sound like? C4, E4, D sharp 4. Okay, moving on. This is a G4, and that's here, G4. Remember, the treble clef little squiggle at the end of the symbol wraps around the G line. That's always kind of a reference point. Do you remember that the treble clef is also called the G clef? So you might hear that someday. Now you know, some people refer to it as just a G clef, not even as a treble clef, so you should know both names. Okay, what's this? This is something natural, right? This is going to be a D4, and it's natural. When you are labeling, when you have a natural next to a note and you're labeling it, usually naturals, you don't have to write the natural. You have to write the sharps and flats, but this is kind of either or, but D natural is right here. So a natural, will cancel out any other accidental, and it turns it into a white key, right? And again, C4 and F4, that's here, okay? Starting with this one, that's G4. That's B4. And that was G, B. And now we go down a step and then it's flat. So that is a flat 4. And then we go up a step, which is not to this black key, but we go to the white key. This is a B. So that is B4. And then we skip down to a G, skip because it's a line to a line. We skip down to the G, and then there's a sharp next to it, so it's this one. So this is G sharp 4. And then from here, we skip a line to the next space, so this is a C5. And hopefully you have that memorized. The second space down, or maybe I should say it as the third space up, is a C5, and the first ledger line below the treble clef is the C4. You really want to have those C's committed to memory. Before anything else, I would memorize the C's. If this is a C, this note is descending one step. So C moves to B. So that is a B4. And then from B4, that is a skip descending. So I move from here, B, skip the A and go to That's it, a G4. Good job. So this is above the 5 octave designation. So this is an E5, which is here. This is a C5, which is here. And realize that this is a descending skip. E5 to C5, descending skip. This is a C ascending step to D5. This is one step up, so that would move from C up to D. That's B4. Okay, so I'm moving from here to here. Okay, now from this B, I'm moving up one step, and there's a sharp next to it, so it's actually a C sharp. So this is C sharp 5. And then this C moves up a skip. So I move from a C, skip a letter, to E, but there's a flat next to it, so it's E flat 5, because it's in this range. And lastly, from E, we move down a step. So E down is just a D. Okay, and actually that would be a D5. Let me play this crazy little melody that I wrote. It's not really a melody, these are random, but just so you know what it sounds like, this is E5, C5, D, B, E flat, D. Lovely, lovely, Malia. So guys, how did you do? What do you like better, sharps or flats? Put it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. This is you can grab your copy of Music Theory staff paper at what's my website? musictheoryshop.com.